What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm proud to be bringing you guys another Pokemon Legends ZA team building guide. It's been a couple days since we've done one of these, and so many things have changed since the last iteration of the team building guides. We've learned a lot more about how the damage calculator works, and I really think we're getting a good walk into what the meta looks like for Pokemon Legends ZA. So today what we're going to be doing is building around Scolipede, a very highly requested Pokemon, a Pokemon that I actually really like. I love this thing's stat line. So let's just hop right in the team builder and get right into this. So pulling up Pokemon Showdown right here, we're going to pull up Scolipede, and I think I used to be pronouncing it Scoliopede. It's not like it has scoliosis, right? But Scolipede is actually a really cool mon. Has a decent base attack of base 100 in its normal form, and then it goes up to 140, and look at that boost to defense. Defense is going to be a premium stat in this game since most of the mons that are using physical attacks are going to be very premium in the meta right now. It gains a decent boost with Spadef as well. It's a very cool mon. I think it's really cool. The fact that it loses all that speed really doesn't impact it since speed tiers are just run so completely different in these games. So running this guy out right here, we're going to take a look at Scolipede, and I really want to drill down the importance of these team building guides in showing you guys how to add the right teammates for your teams. If you guys are enjoying these sort of team building guides, you like this sort of educational content, remember, you can still drop a sub on the channel. We're trying to get to 50K. We're getting just a little bit closer every day. We're actually almost to 49K. It'd be really cool if we can get the bump over that. But let's get into the team builder and actually show you guys how to find the perfect defensive partners to suit Scolipede here. So we have a Scolipede right here. We can see it's weak to fire, it's weak to flying, psychic, and rock. So those are going to be some common types right now. I would say every team, now that we've started to talk a little bit more about Xerneas and Yveltal coming in the game, has actually started to tech a Firemon, because Firemons are good against the steel types that threaten the Xerneas and stuff like that. So fire is starting to become a little more prevalent. Even mons that wouldn't normally carry flamethrower are starting to tech that. Flying is still pretty niche. You don't see it all that often. Mega Skarmory and Mega Salamence are probably two of the biggest abusers of flying moves. Psychic, you do see a decent a bit of psychic moves. I think a lot of things tech Psyshock right now. That's definitely pretty popular. And then bug and rock coverage, that's not too popular. You do see the odd Stone Edge on things like, Mega Garchomp and Gyarados and stuff like that, but honestly, I wouldn't say that those two are very important. I also really want to talk about the importance of the resistances that Scolipede brings to the table. It resists grass, it resists fighting, it resists poison, it resists bug, it resists fairy and stuff like that. Very cool stuff. I think it's actually really cool that we can resist fairy with this thing, so you can means it's a good pivot into blocking Xerneas attacks and stuff like that, and then repinning it with your poison moves that are super effective. So we got to think of what is the exact perfect mon to add here. We want to add something that not only covers up for your weaknesses correctly, but also then repins the mons that were using those moves. And I actually think the best mon for this situation is actually going to be a Starmie, and just a regular probably Life Orb Starmie. See, by adding Starmie to the damage calculator right here, it's gonna cover up for a lot of those weaknesses. That weakness to fire is now covered up by Starmie's water typing. That weakness to let's see, the weakness that we had to Psychic is now covered by Starmie's Psychic typing. The weakness that we had to Rock, while it's still there, Starmie is super effective against anything that is stabbing a rock move. It has ice coverage for a lot of those Garchomps and Thunderbolts for things like Gyarados that would be attacking Stone Edge. So not only are we adding a mon that covers up for our weaknesses defensively, but we're adding an offensive mon that can then repin the mon that use those moves. So I want you guys to think proactively when using your team builders and really think about adding the right mon that helps you repin the mon that uses those moves. Because it's not just that you're weak against a specific type of move. It's that a specific type of move has to come from one of 5 different meta Pokemon. So you don't just need to block the move, you need to block the Pokemon that's using the move. So you need to add the right mons to your team builders to accomplish those goals. Now, when thinking of the last mon here, I think that it's still a really good idea to add a mon that helps us cover up for the things that pin us, right? So instead of just adding a ground type, because ground types cover up for Starmie's weakness to electric, you might want to add a ground type with potential to pin the things that not only threaten the Starmie, but threaten the Scolipede, right? So I think the right mon here is actually going to be a Garchomp. And everyone's going to be like, he's just using a Garchomp because it's meta. I mean, it's a pretty good mon. I will say I've always been a fan of Garchomp, and most of my team builders use a lot of Garchomp. But that's because it's good, right? I think we also have to find the right type of Garchomp to use. I think the right item is going going to be very important. But you see, by adding this Garchomp here, we gain an electric immunity, so we gain a better switch in. And then let's think about what would pin the Scolipede, right? We talked about that earlier. Fire Mons and things like that. A lot of people are teching that stuff. Garchomp not only comes in, blocks that damage, but immediately repins those Mons. I think it's actually really, really important to have the right offensive coverage. And by doing this, we now have a very aggressive team that can mitigate some damage through switches. You see that we're not going into any, you know, humongous holes in the weakness department. We have just a bunch of one-off weaknesses, which means it's a very balanced team builder. And Mega Scolipede is actually super bulky. Garchomp's bulky. Starmie can be utilized with a decent amount of bulk to be able to soak like neutral hits and stuff. So I think it's actually going to be a very good team for ranked once we start getting into like the team builder and the damage calcs and stuff like that. And let's just hop into that right now. Remember, we are going to play a bunch of ranked battles with this team later. So if you guys want to see how this team plays, just sit back, max, relax, and enjoy the team building. So going into the team builder here, we have a Scolipede, we have our Starmie here, and we have our Garchomp. Now, I do think that you're probably going to be better off leading with Garchomp. I think Garchomp's going to be the right way to set up your flowchart, which is another thing I want to talk about when talking about correct team building. You want to have a Garchomp, right? And your opponents are going to be like, oh, that's Garchomp. But let's assume what they're going to be leading with. Let's think about some of the best leads in the game. Some of the best leads in the game are going to be screens users. Things like Ampharos, things like Metagross, you know, stuff like that. Hippowdon is another pretty solid lead in the matchup. So if I were to lead with Garchomp and you were to lead with an Ampharos, and it feels like Ampharos is in like 80% of the games that we play, at least on one or two of the opponent's teams, they're going to be like, oh, they lead Garchomp, I need to swap to my ice coverage or my dragon coverage. So they're going to go off to like their Clefable to have Ice Beam, or they're going to go off to just something, Greninja that has Ice Beam. They're going to go off to a Gyarados to start 1v1 in the Garchomp and stuff like that. And so what you need to do is you need to be able to anticipate what they're going to and then repin them correctly. So if I have Garchomp and you want to go to Clefable, I go to Scolipede. If I have Garchomp and you go to like a Vaporeon or a Clawitzer to use a Hydro Pump or an Ice Beam, I go to Starmie and pin you with Thunderbolt, right? So you need to have the right mons to set up those flowcharts. And remember, since they swapped first, because remember, I led Garchomp, let's say you're in the corner on like the long vertical map. People always say you shouldn't tech for 1v1s, but there are so many situations in which you have to fight a 1v1. I would say the first 35 seconds of the game, you're fighting a 1v1. If you have to swap, and then I swap, and then you have to swap, and then I swap and pin you again, if you swap one more time, you can't swap anymore, right? So then I just repin you that one last time, and now I will win the 1v1. I will have a KO on the board, and I will have effectively gained enough, hopefully, Mega Energy to Mega Evolve my Scolipede, right? That's the idea. You want to get your opponent thinking what they're doing is correct while you still hold all of the cards. Very, very important. Try and work on those flowcharts. You're going to get a lot of value out of it. Hopefully we can show it off in some games. But that being said, what sort of sets do we really want to run for these guys? Let's talk about the Scolipede, since that is the Pokemon that we're going to be using first. So Scolipede. And man, this can get so bulky. I think the best set for this thing is probably going to be a Swords Dance set, because we don't need to have like a ton of offense. We're going to be very bulky on this guy. So I love this thing's coverage. Swords Dance, Earthquake, and then we get things like Megahorn, which I still really like Megahorn. Great gap closer, and it gets you right up in there to use those Earthquakes. A lot of people also think that just because they have like a fire type, they're going to be fine for Scolipede. You can just EQ those, like Megahorn in on someone else, EQ, just drop it, get the big KOs after the Swords Dance. Very cool stuff. I also really like Swords Dance on this thing. The fact that it's still only going to be a +1 for the Legend ZA meta, but it's going to last so long, it's going to really play into the fact that we're running a really bulky, chunky Mega. And then the last move here, I think you just go Gunk Shot. I think Gunk Shot's fine. So this should be pretty good, and I think it's going to be really, really good coverage moving forward. And I also want to talk about the elephant in the room. We're talking about, you know, the meta going forward, kind of into Season 2. I'm recording this right before Season 2 launches, so the games that we're going to be playing are still in Season 1. I know probably when this goes live, there will be Season 2 with Xerneas's and Yveltals. Realistically, you know, Earthquake's still good against a lot of things. Gunk Shot's still good versus Xerneas. If you're afraid of something like Yveltal, you know, you do get access to the Rock Slide. You do get access to a couple other things. Megahorn's still neutral against Yveltal as well. So if Yveltal was a problem, you know, things like Garchomp and Starmie can add like additional like Thunder, you know, Stone Edge coverage and stuff like that to cover up for it. So Scolipede is going to be right there. We're going to work on our EVs in just a minute, but let's go into Starmie's, get our moves done first. I think Life Orb is probably going to be the best way to do this, and I forgot I have to set all these guys to 50 because EVs are done differently at level 50 than they are at level 100. I know a lot of people are also saying they wanted to see battle set at level 100. I think that'd be kind of cool because it would change how the cooldowns work, but let me know if you agree or disagree with that in the comments. So with Starmie, we want to talk about our stab moves first. I think Hydro Pump's going to be good. Some people also like Surf. I don't think I want to get up nice and close. I want to stay far away with Starmie, and I'm going to choose Psy Shock over Psychic. I like Psy Shock. It's a homing move just like a Psychic is, but I feel it's a little bit faster animation. It comes out just a little bit faster, so I'm going to go with Psy Shock here, and then I'm just going to go with the standard Thunderbolt Ice Beam. Very, very standard. Cruise Control for cool. Life Orb plus all these moves means you're going to be dealing a lot of damage. So I do think this is going to be a pretty good Pokemon. It should be able to pick up KOs on anything it's hitting for super effective if you make any of your moves into plus moves. So even if your opponent's using a Garchomp, plus move Thunderbolt, plus move Ice Beam, gone. Same thing goes for Gyarados. Same thing goes for any like Embors or Mega Skarmories. Just hit them with a plus move version of these moves and you should be able to pick up the KO if you're modest with a Life Orb. And then as for the Garchomp, I think an Assault Vest is actually going to be how I want to play this thing. I'm going to use Dig as a gap closer. And then I'm going to go Earthquake, very standard. I like Dragon Rush. Some people also like to tech Outrage on this thing. Dragon Rush is just more gap closers, honestly. And then the last move that I want to tech here is Stone Edge. I think Stone Edge is still going to be good. It has that right coverage, and it really helps us pin the exact mons that would give Scolipede a problem. Specifically like a Charizard, right? We need to actually have something that can like say no thank you to Charizard. We need to be able to not only swap in and mitigate that damage, but immediately repin. So I think that Stone Edge is going to be the right move for this situation. So that being said, we have our 3 mons, we have our 3 items, and now let's start working on EVs. Now, honestly, I think that the fact that this is a 60 base HP, you definitely be maxing this HP stat. So if you wanted to catch an Alpha Scolipede, you definitely could. Right? I think that'd be a good play. It's also going to make all of your moves that are doing like AoE damage, like, Earthquake, Mega Horn, Gunk Shot. It's going to have a wider area of effect for those. So an Alpha Mon is going to be good here. So you can just catch one in area 20 if you wanted to. That being said, I do not think you need to go max attack. Like if this was the set that you wanted to run, there's nothing wrong with that. Just full attack, easy peasy. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you can be a little bit more deliberate. I think if you were to play to your bump right here, which I believe is going to be at 76, you see the bump happens when you combine your nature with your EVs, and you can go from 41 with 8 points extra into 43. And remember, I just want to run this down for people that might not know. The way that EVs work in these games is going to be the first 4 matter at level 50. You see it goes from 120 to 121, and then after that it's every 8. So 4 gives you a point. 8 gives you a point. And then 8 more gives you another point. 8 more gives you another point. So when you go up to 76 and you combine your nature, which as I said, like is a 10% boost to your stats, you can get a little bit more bang for your buck. It's 1 extra point, one little way to be a little bit more optimal. And honestly, I think there's nothing really wrong with this set. After you Mega, you're still going to be super, super strong, and we're going to be really reliant on Swords Dance. Now, I will say, this set can probably KO, like, a Gardevoir, or maybe even, like, a Sweeper, like a Jolteon. You might be able to KO a Jolteon, even without the Swords Dance boost, if you plus boost this, or just in your Mega form. This is probably going to be enough to still get those KOs, but that being said, it's going to be worth testing, and this is going to make us super bulky, so we have all these extra points. What I think we should just do is chuck those all into defense. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so juicy. Remember, we have a neutrality to ground. We are actually neutral to, like, a lot of the big, physical options in the game. Another thing I want to talk about, let's go back to the team builder here. Let's think about the common mons and the common moves that threaten these guys. So, Scolipede, it's threatened by Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Psychics, Heat Waves. Those are all special attacks that are doing that type of damage. So we can go to Starmie to mitigate them if we want the correct defensive typing, or our AV Garchomp. It's almost like we're deliberate in having like a lot of, coverage for those options, right? Because that's what we're weak to on our Mega, right? What's Garchomp weak against? Ice Beams, Dragon moves, Fairy moves, stuff like that. So if we're weak against Ice Beams, we can always go to Starmie, or any Ice coverage, we can go to Starmie, and that's fine. But if we're weak against Fairy moves, those are generally going to be things that we can go to Scolipede for. Or realistically, if we're weak against Dragon moves, if our Garchomp's at like 20%, and we see a Garchomp coming toward us, or a Dragonite, or anything that's going to just slam in a big, Dragon move into us, well, that's why our Scolipede has 180 points with full HP and defense. We can pivot to this Mon, soak that damage, do some good damage back, soak a little bit more, then go to Starmie to finish it off, right? That's a good understanding of how like the flow charts work in these situations. So this is what it looks like to have like a really, really balanced team with like good deliberate choices that you can actually have to get you out of a lot of different negative situations. So Scolipede's gonna be right here. Easy peasy EV spread on this guy. Let's go into Starmie next. I think Starmie's gonna be a pretty easy one. You don't need an alpha Starmie, but if you have an alpha Starmie, that's probably gonna be fine. We definitely want Modest here. And then what I like to do on Starmie is going to be a little bit different. What I want to do is end my HP at 188, makes it just a little bit bulkier. But another reason why we're doing this here is it makes it so your Life Orb, which normally takes 10% of your health, it takes 1 less health every single time if you have your HP end in a 9. So you're going to be kind of bulky, and then we have to deliberately think, what moves is Starmie swapping in on? We talked about this already. Heat waves, ice beams, you know, all the flamethrowers, fire blast, stuff like that. Because it's going to be soaking in all those special damage, we put our special defense stat right there. So it makes the Starmie just a little bit bulkier, just a little bit. We're still technically going to be functioning as like a full special attacker, crazy sweeper person, but you see how we're deliberately putting just a little bit of points into these SPDEF and defense stats to correctly mitigate the problems that we are analyzing from looking at the damage calculator and the defensive coverage. So going to the Garchomp here, Garchomp's going to be pretty easy. I think you probably do want an alpha one of these guys as well. And honestly, this one's going to be pretty easy. I actually don't think there's a problem with like cruise control for cooling it with a Garchomp and just using like a full alpha one and going like massive just HP attack. I think it's fine. If you wanted to put a little bit into SPDEF to maybe cover up for, you know, a Life Orb, Greninja, Ice Beam, maybe you could, but I don't think you need to. I think this is going to probably be able to live through almost anything. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy mon. It's our lead. It's pretty standard. If we're afraid of dragon attacks, again, we go to Scolipede. If we're afraid of, you know, ice attacks, we go to Starmie. If we're afraid of, you know, I don't really think Garchomp's afraid of that much. Like Ice Fang, like we're bulky enough to eat Ice Fang, especially at the early stages of the game when there's not a lot of mega energy going around. There's no plus moves on the first, you know, 30 seconds of the game, which makes Garchomp a very, very like bulky, bully lead. It's perfect for just running around the map, getting all your mega energy so you can go into your Scolipede and just pop that mega, get those swords dances off to get some sweeps. So hopefully you guys like this little team builder. What we're gonna do now is hop into some ranked battles, and I'm gonna show you guys how to actually play this core correctly, get those good defensive pivots, start correctly, you know, control the board, and hopefully win some games. This is your last reminder for now to drop a sub on the channel if you guys like this sort of content. We're trying our best to bring you guys the most educational Pokemon Legends EA content out there. We're waiting for Season 2 to start. We're doing a bunch of cool stuff. Think about checking out some of the content. Think about dropping a sub, helping us get a 50K. I will also say that we're uploading daily ranked battles on our second channel, our side channel. We're doing a bunch of cool stuff over there. This is where I'm just testing, learning a little bit more about the game. It's a lot less structured, but if you like seeing the random, you know, anti-meta, off-meta megas, think about checking out that side channel. And without further ado, let's get right into some ranked games. This guy's ready to go to town and get some big wins. Wish me luck. Here we go. All right, so we have the wide open space forest map. This is probably a really good map for us. It's going to be great for Garchomp, good for Starmie. Scolipede's probably going to work out pretty well. Garchomp is starting things off strong, and the first thing we want to do is just get Mega Energy. So we see Dragonite. We're not going to go over there. We can actually fight the Metagross, I would say, pretty well. We're going to try and dig to block the Ice Punch. So what we're going to do is actually wait for those guys to start fighting. Dig under all this. Get in. Maybe get a KO on the... There's the KO, easy peasy, right? You don't need to be weird. You don't need to overcommit. You want other people to start fighting. If they're going to make those mistakes, that's fine. This guy has Ice Punch. We got Frozen, never lucky. And we're able to swap to Starmie to block that damage. And go for a Thunderbolt here. Good damage, 2 KOs. Barely alive. Barely alive. Can I get this? I thought I could live that. I thought I could get out fast enough. I should have went to Scolipede, but it's fine. We have a lot of energy right now. We're doing pretty good. We're going to go into Garchomp. Machamp's actually a pretty good bond. I think it's probably either going to be AV or Life Orbed, but we can probably... Oh, he's going to go Explosion, bro. I know he has Ice Punch. I'm going to block this. Brick Break, that's fine. I don't think I have to technically care about that. We'll just go for this. Nice. Big KO. Easy peasy. We can get our Mega. We can get this defense boost. See if there's anyone chasing us right now. Is that Dragonite, yo? Dragonite, don't care. Don't care. Dragon Rush into a Starmie, bro. Do something else. This might get the KO. Psyshock. Especially if it's like AV. Wow. He actually ate that pretty well. Alright, we do not want to mess with Gyarados. Yep. Happens. We should be able to almost Mega right now, I think. I think we can almost Mega right now. Need just a little bit more Mega Energy. Just a wee tad bit. One more. Camera up, bro. Don't do me like that. Heat Wave, we talked about this. Starmie is a good pivot for that. We have a Hydro to repin if we need it. Thunder Punch. Gotta swap. Gotta swap. It wouldn't let me swap. You saw like Starmie was pathing. It was stuck behind that thing. I started channeling. Well, I clicked Hydro Pump and it got stuck back there. My fault completely. Can I please Mega? Thank you. Can I get it? No. Yeah, I got it. Cool. EQ baby. Let's go. Big KOs. Big KOs. And we went 1 for 1 with Mega Camerupt, and there was a Metagross there. I think that's fine. 36 seconds left. I can probably go one more of a Scolipede. One more run. Don't mind if I do, buddy. Where are you looking? Yeah, that's fine. Alright, can I actually 1v1 this? If I had the Swords Dance, I know I could. We do this just because we don't want to die. Pivot to Starmie. And we're going to Ice Punch, or Ice Beam, sorry. 10 seconds. Almost. You know what? We got second in this one, and I actually think we played this pretty well. Like, I think all things considered, we did play this pretty well. The Machamp just kind of feasted on KOs on, I think, a lot of other players. But I do think that a lot of the things we did were correct. We didn't really overextend that much. We really tried to control the board. It sucks that Mega Energies didn't spawn anywhere really near where we were. So we were starved out of our Mega for about 30 seconds longer than I think we really needed to be. But that being said, I think a lot of that game went well. Maybe I could have used a little bit more Garchomp in that game, but every single time we knew that we were going to get a KO, we got it. Our calcs were on point. Looks like we had enough attack investment on Scolipede as well, so pretty good stuff. Let's go into another game. All right, here we go. Garchomp on the vertical/horizontal map. This is probably pretty good. Let's see if we can get that 1v1 we were talking about. 1v1 versus Glaceon. I think I can probably eat this. Actually go out to this. Ice Beam block. I wanted them to blow Freeze Dry. Now they won't Freeze Dry. Now let's go back here. Oh my gosh. Never lucky. Wow, what a terrible start. They have EVs. Oh man, that's good coverage though. I can probably pop a Sharpedo. We're gonna Dragon Rush with this. What's up with all this ice coverage in this matchup? Kinda weird. Just kind of get this guy far back. You gonna crunch me, bro? Earthquake. It's fine. Just kidding. Swords Dance is up. Mega. Click the wrong move. Let's go. Nice. Double KO. Got the M board too. Oh man, if I get that heal, I win the game. If I get the heal, I win the game. Swords Dance is still active. Oh! I wanted it so bad! Oh my gosh, never lucky. Oh, that sucks. I would have won the game. Easy peasy would have won the game there. Alright, can almost Mega again. I bet I just KO them with Earthquake, like honestly. Like, I know you want to fight me, but like, Earthquake is Earthquake. Yep, that's a Mega Shandy KO. There's so many Fire Mons in this game. I can't even get anything done. I should be using Garchomp more, but I want to use Scolipede. Alright, we have the defense buff. Wait for them to start using a move. There it is. EQ baby. Someone stole my KO. It was you. See if I can KO this guy first. Nice. 4 KOs. Mega Emboar, huh? Mega EQ baby. Nice! Mega Horn! Oh, dude, he barely got me. That was a plus move. And they probably are never Melt Ice. Alright, so that being said, we got some good KOs there. It's time for your boy Garchomp to not suck. Glaceon's over here. Let's let that Glaceon run out of the map just a little bit. He's going to probably try and come and fight us. Yeah, you want to do something. Yeah, I took some damage there. That's fine. Okay. What's the right thing to do here? Probably get a KO here with Psyshock. Oh my gosh, he's so low. Let's run this. Never lucky. And it shot it up. That's unfortunate. Let's go. Get the KO. Nice. Guarantee KO. We got to swap back to Garchomp here. 3, 2, 1, and we are going to get first place. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So we got a lot of KOs that game with Scolipede. I think that's a pretty good game to show off exactly, we had a terrible start too. We did an absolutely terrible start. We're trapped in the corner with a Glaceon. We got Dumpy by all the fire moves, but, we got out of our corner. We got Mega early, and we just started popping off with Earthquake. You see just how much damage Scolipede does, even with, like, minimal attack investment. Like, that's just how strong, like, plus moves and all these Mega evolutions are. If you guys like this sort of content, you want to see more stuff like it, please think about dropping a sub on the channel. We're still trying to get to 50K, and I want you guys to know, what Mega do you want to see me do a team building guide for in the next episode? We've done team building guides for Gourgeist. We've done team building guides for Aegislash, Mega Absol, Mega Chandelure, Mega Exeter. We've done a bunch of different team building guides. If you like this sort of educational, analytical content where we break down exactly what tools you need to build the right defensive and offensive teams to suit whatever your needs are in ranked, please think about, let me know what you want to see next in the comments. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.